Jeff Pegues, thank you. Let's bring in now criminal defense attorney Joe Tamburino. He is in Minneapolis this morning, and so good to have you with us, Joe. Let's stay on that point, that video which we just saw so clearly in the piece that Jeff Pegues has put together. How difficult will it be for the defense?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. It will be difficult, but remember, what the defense has to do is get the jury to see other evidence, because this case is going to be about a battle between cause of death and use of force. The defense is going to say cause of death is either drugs or heart failure, and the prosecution is going to say this case is about use of force, meaning that Mr. Chauvin used unreasonable force. So the defense has to get beyond that video and have the jury see other evidence.
What is the definition of unreasonable force?
Well, that's a great question, you see, because each situation is different. Depending upon the level of force that an officer is facing, an officer could use a certain amount of force to match that. Now, in this case, Mr. Chauvin, when he was a police officer at the time, that maneuver that he did with the knee on the neck was permissible by Minneapolis Police Department. So the prosecutor's got to be able to show beyond a reasonable doubt that even though that was permitted, he went above and beyond that by having the knee on the neck for so long period of time.
Right. You mentioned it was permitted. That is no longer permitted by the police, correct?
That's correct. There was an agreement between the state of Minnesota and the Minneapolis city, and the mayor signed off on that. So that maneuver is no longer permitted in Minneapolis.
Do you imagine we'll get to a point in the trial where there's a discussion about whether almost 9 minutes of holding George Floyd down represents unreasonable force?
Yes, that will definitely be the case, because this will also involve a lot of expert testimony. From the defense side, you will hear experts talk about how George Floyd had drugs in his system, heart failure. From the prosecution side, you will hear experts say that having a knee on the neck for that long inhibited blood flow or some type of breathing, so that contributed. Because remember, in this case, the prosecutors don't have to show that but for Mr. Chauvin's actions, Mr. Floyd died. All they have to show is that Mr. Chauvin's actions were a substantial causal factor in Mr. Floyd's death.
And quickly, this judge has allowed a third-degree murder charge to be added. At the same time, he has also allowed past evidence of George Floyd's drug use and arrests, correct?
That is correct. The judge has allowed a May 2019 or portions of Mr. Floyd's arrest, and the judge did permit the third-degree murder charge as count 2 in this 3-count complaint.
All right, Joe Tamburino, thank you. The court is back in session. The jury has been brought in.